School transitions might be more difficult for some than for others. On Sunday evening, the battle can start. Your child's stomach can start to hurt. The following morning, the tears come. You're standing at the front door. You're waiting for your child to start coming to the door so they can jump in the car. And you know that it's already going to be a stressor when you get to the parking lot. Now, you've been told by doctors that it's anxiety. You've been told by teachers that it's just a phase. You've been told by friends to be firm and push them through it. But deep down inside, you know that something much larger is happening within your child. It's not your child being difficult. It is a nervous system in crisis. This video is for parents whose children genuinely cannot get into the classroom. Not that they won't, but they generally and physically cannot. Parents who are tired of being told that their child is just being manipulative, that they just don't want to go to school. Parents who know in their gut that something much deeper is driving these meltdowns, these stomach aches, and this panic attack that you see on a regular basis. School refusal, it affects a lot of kiddos. 2 to 5% is actually what one study showed. And the majority of them are not being defiant. This genuinely is a situation where they want to attend, but their nervous system responds to the environment at school as a threat. And we're going to touch base on this in a much larger area. In my office, I see this pattern on a weekly basis. Parents have been told and have tried to do therapy. They've done accommodations, and they've even resorted to medication on several accounts. Not every single time when we look at this history form, the nervous system has been showing challenges and dysregulation for a long period of time, way before kindergarten ever started. The only difference is that the parent's been seeking help from their pediatrician, whose only ability is to prescribe a medication or to refer you to somebody else. Now, I see this transition as a challenge in my practice, where a child comes into the office happy, bubbly. Their parents are like, the little Johnny is looking forward to his adjustment today. Comes onto the table, smiling, loving, gives me a high five. And as soon as my hands are placed on that body, their nervous system goes into crisis mode. They go into a sympathetic dominant fight or flight phase where everything in their environment all of a sudden goes into panic state. They see the environment as a threat, but they had just seen the same environment as a welcoming area. The only difference is that their nervous system is incredibly dysregulated. So school refusal is not defiance. It's really a neurological disorder. So when we look at school refusal or truancy, these things, they look the same on paper, but they're absolutely different neurologically. Truancy is a choice. It's just a naughty kid who doesn't want to go to school. School refusal is a child who genuinely cannot attend. When I talk about genuinely cannot attend, this means that that child's nervous system perceives the environment at school as a danger. When a child's neurology switches over to survival mode, it starts to take the thinking brain completely offline. Punishments does not change neurology. It adds more stress to an already overloaded nervous system. And that's why the whole push through it advice, it literally backfires, because you have to remember that this is not a behavioral challenge. This is not a naughty little child. This is where their nervous system is wired for fear, and changes in their environment, these challenges and transitions, they start to change the neurology and how the brain and body start to orchestrate their function. The autonomic or automatic nervous system is stuck on a sympathetic dominant state. So the nervous system, think of it like a vehicle. You've got a gas pedal, you've got a brake pedal. The sympathetic system is the gas pedal. It's looked at as fight, flight, or protection mode. The parasympathetic system is the brake pedal. It's calming, resting, regulating, helps in recovery. In school refusing kiddos, the gas pedal is stuck down for years. That brake pedal, that vagus nerve, it's just not responding. And their nervous system is locked into sympathetic dominance, which reads their environment, especially areas like the classroom, as a danger. And when danger starts to kick in, their body goes into protective mode and the game is over. The vagus nerve is the missing piece because the vagus nerve is the longest cranial nerve that comes off the brainstem, and it runs through the parasympathetic system. It controls digestion, heart rate, emotional regulation, and social engagement. So let's pause on that. This vagus nerve allows the brain to communicate to organ systems, respiratory patterns, digestive patterns, heart rate patterns. So when that nervous system is no longer regulated or functioning properly, those organ systems are then starting to have challenges in their function. So if that heart rate starts to climb, if their digestion starts to slow down, this is where you start to get this perception of stomach pain, irregular heart rate, breathing challenges. Let's just call it anxiety and put a label on it. But when it's working, your child can actually read faces. They can look at emotions, they can tolerate stress, and they can feel safe in a social environment. However, when it's compromised, that nervous system cannot distinguish between safe and threatening. And that's really where this distress starts to happen, which is why the morning stomach aches are vagus nerve distress signals from the gut to the brain. And that's why we have to work on improving that communication pathway. There are stressors that build for years prior to the symptoms starting to show. So what I see is that most kiddos refusing to go to school have a history of neurological stress way before they were even born. Prenatal stress starts to flood the developing baby with cortisol, and it shapes the developing nervous system reactively. Moms, you got to remember that your emotional stress pre-conception or during pregnancy lays down the roadmap for the child's nervous system. So if mom was in a stressful environment, or she is a hyper alert individual, or if mom is in panic and stress mode over everything in the house, that baby's nervous system has learned what is normal. Then we look at birth trauma, interventions from traditional birth experiences. We're talking forceps, vacuum, C-section. Let's get into induction, epidural. All of these chemical and physical stressors put a lot of stress and strain on that upper neck, which is where the brainstem resides, where those cranial nerves are exiting the skull, and where that parasympathetic makeup is starting to become regulated. In early childhood layers, they start to pile on. We see a child with dysregulation or ear infections, a lot of antibiotics, sleep challenges from a long time frame, and sensory disturbances that can be tricky when looking at your child's overall health. Now by kindergarten, this child doesn't have a behavior problem. It's not a naughty little boy or a girl. They have a nervous system that has never had a chance to build resilience, and that instability starts to be shown very evidently when going to school. It's a big transition even for kiddos who are healthy and balanced. Neurologically focused chiropractic care really does help the neurology. We use insight scans first to objectively quantify and measure nervous system function. For instance, we have 3 scans that are run. HRV, which is heart rate variability, helps us to understand the activity and balance of the autonomic nervous system, understanding their horsepower, understanding their braking potential, understanding how resilient and adaptive the nervous system is to external stress. Then we look at the surface EMG, helps us to measure and quantify muscle tension along the surface of the spine where a lot of stress gets stored and held. And finally, a thermography scan, which is an opportunity to measure dysautonomia and nervous system stress from an inflammatory pathway, understanding what nerves are being affected. And of course, we already know what nerves control different operating systems of that body. Then we start to use very gentle adjustments to help restore tension, help to re-stimulate and restore function of the vagus nerve. And then families will start to see first, sleep is improved. Then we see changes in digestion, then emotional regulation. We'll touch base on that neurological hierarchy in office. If your child has been struggling with school, just don't give up on it. And please hear this. Your child isn't broken, and it's not their fault. They're stuck in a stress mode, and their nervous system can change. But first, somebody has to actually look at it. They have to measure it, and they have to address what's actually driving their response at the root cause. Don't label it, don't medicate it, don't ignore it. There are opportunities to help with this improvement of regulation. And that's exactly what we do here at Maximize Chiropractic. We're located in West Sacramento, very convenient from the freeway. And our team, we will sit down with you, do a private consultation. Let's run some neurological scans and let's get a roadmap to help you and your family move forward. If you want more info, click on the link below. Send us a DM or call our office directly. We even have a scheduling link on our website. Your child deserves more than another label. They deserve answers, and they deserve to enjoy and love school, because that environment is truly a blessing for most of us.